Bhumi, can I ask you a
something
question?
to understand.
Like Hollywood, back in the day, has made smoking cool, has made diamonds expensive, has defined what we perceive to be attractive today, beyond symmetry, if one might say. Why doesn't Bollywood, your industry, you've done so much work, right? Like social causes, movies around that. Don't you think it's a good way to reach a large plethora of people by making movies around climate?
Absolutely, but I feel it comes from the fact that a lot of people feel they're not going to be affected by it. Because we feel that because we are protected by the wealth that we have, there will be some elite institution that we believe in that is going to come and solve this. But that's not the case. As ma'am said, as she rightly said, that climate change is something that is going to be a great equalizer. And there'll only be enough narrative around it, which I really feel is missing, especially in the industry that I am from, because people feel it's not going to affect them. We live in a world, we live in our bubble. And our bubble gives us a lot of comfort, right? We have access to the best of things. I feel the narrative will only shift when we are truly affected by it. And that's what happens. As when we started our conversation, that's exactly what I said, that even today when I am in rooms, and this conversation has been so educational for me because I'm just taking in so many different perspectives and I'm not privy to information like so, right? What my path in the fight is that I'm just trying to get as many people like me to start talking about it. When it needs to become popular culture. That's the impact that media or films have, right? I want climate change and all the effects, and I need people to be fearful in many ways. And I really hope that there are many more films that are made. In fact, there was a film called Karvi Hawa that was made. Yeah. It was such a phenomenal film, but a film like so didn't really do well. It didn't reach a large audience because it also makes it, people feel they rather have an ostrich mentality where they behave and they pretend like everything is okay around us. Koi aake hame situation se bacha dega. But that's not going to happen.
Do you think fear sells more or does greed when it comes to movies?
Greed. Any day greed. Absolutely. I mean, how many of us are going to go sit in a theater, kind of go away from all our issues and our problems and be like, oh, this is a real issue.
So it might work for climate change in movies. If you paint a picture like Armageddon or, these end of world stories.
Look, my generation has seen these films, right? But we know it's happening. We believe in it. But how many of us take action again about it? None of us take action about it. My industry is a polluter. Like if you see film sets are not run in the most sustainable manner. Wherever we go, we actually destroy the ecosystem that we are at. I have shot in like remote villages. Yes, we are creating job opportunities, which does happen when we go for those 3 months or 6 months. But we leave behind, we disrupt the place. We pollute it in so many ways and we just move on.
Is that because there's no financial incentive to do otherwise?
Maybe. But also I feel like
deterrence. Nobody holds them to account.
Exactly.
That's the question.
Nobody holds them to account.
That's the question I'm asking myself. Is it financial incentive or deterrence that will work?
Both.
I feel financial incentive would definitely work the moment people realize that there is some way that maybe we can...
They will cheat around it.
But we have a long history of...
They do some nice cover-up. Beautiful, We painted it green, see?
We have a long history of not being able to make financial deterrence stick.
We need both.
What is the solution, right?
Yeah, you need deterrence.
What is it? Like, how do you get people to actually care and bring about a change in the way their consumption happens?
But it's also about how do you... What are you trying to project, right? So the movies around climate change, the apocalyptic movies, I don't know if you guys remember this Don't Look Up movie that compared climate change to an asteroid. It's very destructive actually because that's not the way it works.
It's going to happen.
It's not that Armageddon as
Because people then imagine it is that Armageddon and when they see in reality it is not, the disconnect happens.
That's right.
I was thinking like this, but it's...
So should you make
you should
movies
actually-
about floods in Bangladesh?
Well, exactly.
or-
You have to make it about the lived experience. What happens when you have a heat wave? What happens when you have a flood? And then, so climate change is the cause behind the scenes. But you don't make movies about climate change.
And
You make
remember,
movies about
having
impacts.
said that, there was a film that I was a part of actually that was about what happened during COVID, right? People just didn't have the appetite to go watch that film. Because it is their harsh reality and they don't want to live it.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So how do you get the masses to kind of accept what's happening and to bring about change? Like I work on a very micro level, right? Like on my platform, I'm propagating, okay, how did I make the switch to living a sustainable life? What are the smaller things that you can do? I don't think people changing on an individualistic level is the solution, because I think the solution comes on a policy level, exactly what all of you were speaking about. But if there is a mass shift in the way people think. For example, I did a film that was associated with the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, which was about open defecation, called Toilet Ek Prem Katha. And we did see a certain shift in thinking patterns. We saw a behavioral shift, right? It
Very
kind of
important. That was a great
ties
movie.
down to your
That was very
experience
important.
It's a really good movie.
No, it's a very good, and remember, the toilet story till then was about building the toilet but not using it.
Correct.
It was films like that which actually made people understand the cultural and the social reasons why you would adopt toilets. So, I think you've really... So, Bhumi, it is possible to nudge people. It is possible to nudge societies and change the way they think into doing things differently. But again, with the toilet story, there was both. There was a cultural change. There was also a subsidy. There was a incentive as well given by government, big incentive given to build those. So, and then there was a reputational advantage that, if I'm modern, I'm going to use a toilet. So I think there was a lot of that which we need to learn from and bring into many of the thinking, the issues that we are talking about today, because we need to deconstruct many of these conversations. Because when we talk about this big thing, it looks so impossible. You need to bring it down to... So I can see I also sometimes feel this sort of 20 ways to save the earth is not going to happen, what I can do. But we shouldn't disable people's ability to be able to be different and to do it in their own way, differently, practice the change.
But how does it matter if all life is transient? If the people you bring into this, and I have some really close experience with this. I had this realization. I had some drastic personal event happen in the last 20 days. And it just got me thinking that everything is so meaningless. We are all born. We die. We are not so much different from any other animal out there.
That's why, if life is so transient, we need to do our best to make it work. Absolutely. Okay? I had a cycle accident, okay, near death. I have metal plates here, okay? So I was on a cycle and the car rammed into me. Near-death experience. All that only made me realize that you just cannot give up. And I think that should be the way. I would not... I'll leave it to you to answer.
So you're making
Bhumi,
my
but
argument. You're saying she should not think
she
the world is
shouldn't
ending.
think about it. She should use her anxiety to make sure that we can get things done.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Exactly.
Do you think this is the world countering the problem of climate change on its own?
No.
Because in 100 years, we might have less people than there are right now. Because we're talking
That
2.
will anyways happen. Because as economically development happens, that the population peak, I think they are saying it's around 2060 at 10 billion. So by 2100, your number is not going to be that. Any case.
And what
Point
happens
is-
by 2150?
But the point
so we
is,
don't know. So basically
what are
we
you
have-
going to be, an American or an Indian? A poor Indian. If everybody who is in the world, let's say the population of the world peaks and the population starts declining, but everybody consumes like an American, you're not going to save climate change, okay? If you really, it's not the numbers, it is numbers plus consumption. And that's the tough one. That's really the tough.
But so I don't mean to at all diminish the sense of anxiety, but I think it comes back. I'm a great believer in narratives. It's a big part of what I've tried to work on all my life, right? Coming back to this question of movies and what you're doing. If you make a Don't Look Up kind of movie, it's going to breed anxiety. But if you turn this around and you say, yes, this is really an issue, there's a part of this which is the low carbon energy transition. But there's also a part of this that says we know we are already in territory of serious climate
But
harms.
who would watch that
What
movie
can we
nowadays?
do? No, so I'm just coming to that, right? What can we do to fix it?
Do you really think anybody will watch that movie?
I think they will. So, for example, the toilet ek prem katha story was because it was not abstract, it was very real, and it was couched in a story around how you change positively, right? What the solution is. We've been working, for example, on heat waves. Heat waves are going to happen. They're going to happen much more frequently. The impact on people's lives as a result of those heat waves can be ameliorated, can be reduced substantially by community action, communities organizing with the support of the states. If you had a story that unpacked this idea of heat waves and what you do about it in a world where we're going to see more of them, that's an interesting story. It's a counter to anxiety.
Somewhere I ever thought like what Shark Tank did, right? So for education to the masses about this whole VC ecosystem and everything, is really like, even after passing out IIT with so many startups around, I had no idea what a VC was in a ways. And now like I interacted with 600 students and they are like, how do I increase my valuation? Which is a very interesting question. But the point is, maybe you don't need to do it outside what is there. Like I always imagine like a Tarak Mehta ka Ulta Chashma having an episode focused on heat.
Right.
So you may need,
Like the Simpsons have done it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
through
yeah.
and through. That's what they did.
So you may not need to create a new intellectual property.
That's
the
a good
main
way of
idea
looking at
can
it.
be
Yeah.
like one of the things that I feel that people should look at is in all their fields, they should look at, can I propagate climate while not part of that field itself. You don't need to go completely outside because then it'll be too out of the box. So that's my sense. Like I always feel, or an IPL. So in just from an awareness perspective, I think the EPL had a net zero match. And I don't know, Tottenham versus Chelsea or something. Now, imagine an IPL final with the broadcasters also involved and talking about this is a net zero match with the specifics and things like that. I think that does create some momentum, but it has to be maybe involvement across different layers of the players also talking about that, all their clothes for that match made from...
And the fact is, we have to make
That's very
sure this is
creative.
real.
Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.